Hi, I'm Anna Denton-Jones of Refreshing Law Limited, and in this week 4 of Knowledge November, I'm going to be talking about stress policies, maybe called a well-being, mental health well-being policy, something like that. The first thing I'm going to say about such policies is that it's no use having one, issuing one, maybe perhaps because your insurer has asked you to do so, unless you are committed to the contents of that policy. It's likely to include lots of commitments, and I think unless you are prepared to live by that policy, there's a potential for quite a lot of embarrassment of an organisation when they then get criticised by employees, saying, you know, you've said this, you've said you're going to do that, and you haven't done that in respect of me. So just take care on that front. If you are going to have a policy, you do have to live by it. So what are these policies all about? The first thing that such a policy is likely to contain is a real commitment by the employer to creating a healthy workplace, to supporting employees, as regards stress and their mental health and well-being, talking really about being prepared to tackle, if you like, the causes of stress. We're probably talking about having a workplace culture where we're encouraging people to come forward if they've got concerns. Those concerns might be things that get channeled into other areas like the grievance procedure, things like bullying and harassment complaints. But it's about creating a culture where people feel that they can come forward and talk about stress that they may feel that they're under, and encouraging that language that encourages that dialogue. The policy is going to need to set out who people go to. So that might be internal sources of support, that might be champions that you put in place. It might be talking about what training line managers have been given to be able to talk about these things. It might be signposting people to external sources of support, so their GP, occupational health, your employee assistance program if you've got one of those. But it also needs to then set out what is going to happen if somebody does raise an issue. So if somebody is feeling overwhelmed and stressed and it is raised with their line manager or with somebody else in the organisation, what steps are going to be taken to deal with that? It might be a generic description to begin with of the steps that you've taken to risk assess stress across the organisation. So if you've been through the processes we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks, it might be describing, you know, what's happened as a result of that, and where those risk assessments and the measures that you've said you're going to be taking can be found. It might then be talking about more specific risk assessments that you're going to take in individual cases, and the kind of dialogue you're going to expect to have with individuals about their own situations. You're then likely to be committing within the policy to be taking some measures in respect of steps and support and adjustments and changes and things that you're going to be doing if somebody is found to be suffering from stress in the workplace. It's no good just having a vague commitment. We need to be setting out to people that we are prepared to alter jobs and take steps to tackle issues where there's a problem. So you're likely to be setting out something about that in your policy. You may need to talk about what steps you'll take to reintegrate somebody if they've been off for a period of time. So that might be return to work plans and phased returns to work, things like that. So you can see from the sorts of things that I've been talking about that it's probably not really worth the paper it's written on to have a policy that's just saying, you know, we regard stress as a very important issue, and, you know, as part of our health and safety, we're going to monitor the situation. I think people these days are going to demand something a little bit more concrete from you. We might want to have an individual owner of the policy, or a particular role that's going to own the policy, whether that's health and safety, whether it's HR, and set out how we're going to monitor that policy, and if it's review it if it's working, etc. If you do have any questions about policies, please do not hesitate to ask. A Denton at refreshinglawltd.co.uk. Thank you very much.